Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the dedication of Culpeper Battlefield State Park. My name is Kevin Bowman. I'm the park manager at Sweet Run State Park in Loudoun County and the acting manager here at Culpeper Battlefield State Park. Would you all please stand as the Virginia State Parks Color Guard presents the colors and we say the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Hold. Left. Right. Prep. Colors. Present. Hold. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order, up. Right, face. Prepare, colors. Ho, march. Left, left. Colors. Oh. Right. Face. Detail. Rest.
Thank you. Please be seated. Good morning and welcome to Culpeper Battlefield State Park. We'd like to extend a special welcome to Governor Glenn Youngkin, who's on my other shoulder, Secretary of Natural Resources, Travis Boyles, Natural and Historic Resources, Travis Boyles, Cabinet members and state officials, state senators and delegates, DCR Director Matt Wells, American Battlefield Trust President David Duncan, and American Battlefield Trust Chairman Emeritus John Now, and other distinguished guests. Welcome, all of you. We're here today to celebrate a tremendous addition to the Commonwealth and to dedicate Virginia's 43rd state park, Culpeper Battlefield State Park. I'd like to start by thanking my team. If you look around, you will see the presence of many Virginia State Park Rangers, each of whom had a hand in getting us to today and helping us to have this celebration. So thank you, Rangers. The others that follow my remarks will recognize the contributions of many esteemed and dedicated individuals and groups that have been instrumental in not only preserving these lands, but also the ongoing stewardship and interpretation of these historic battlefields. This work began decades ago, in the mid-1980s, and has extended right through to today's dedication ceremony. And while there are many that I'd like to thank by name, I will do so generally and with the most heartfelt gratitude. Thank you all. This is not your typical state park. Today, about 260 acres centered around the crest of Fleetwood Hill, where we are today, have been donated by the American Battlefield Trust to the Commonwealth. Additional transfers happening in gradual phases through 2027, will see this park grow to more than 2,200 acres. As the park takes shape, acres and new locations will be added, from Cedar Mountain battlefields to St. James Church to Buford's Knoll, Kelly's Ford, and Rappahannock Station, just to name a few. Much of the land is already open to the public and includes trails and interpretive signs maintained by the American Battlefield Trust, the Friends of Culpeper Battlefields, and the Brandy Station Foundation, and others. Therefore, this new historical battlefield state park immediately offers educational and historical opportunities through the existing interpretation. Today, the Fleetwood Hill unit of Culpeper Battlefield State Park is preserved and open to the public with a walking trail, interpretive signage, and even an observation viewer. And as the park continues to develop, other forms of recreation, natural resource interpretation, and programming will begin to take shape. As we develop Culpeper Battlefield State Park, the many natural, historical, and cultural resources that extend beyond the scope of the battles that were fought during the Civil War would be brought to light in addition to the existing interpretation. My team is already working on understanding the diversity of history of this park and how to best interpret and provide educational programs that begin with the first Native peoples and extend through the many generations that followed. In addition, recreational access opportunities will be developed in a way that is meaningful and not detrimental to the preservation of these lands and the battles that took place here. A master management agreement has been created for the Trust and the Commonwealth to cooperatively handle stewardship and the care of these grounds over the next several years during the transfer process, and as the park builds staffing and operational infrastructure. It's truly an honor to be able to conserve these important resources in perpetuity with this beautiful new state park. With that, I would like to introduce Paige Reed, Director of Culpeper Tourism and Economic Development for the town of Culpeper. Paige?
Good morning. I joined the Culpeper community about 10 years ago, and the American Battlefield Trust was one of my first meetings. They shared with me the efforts to date in preserving and protecting the Brandy Station and Cedar Mountain battlefields with the goal that the lands would one day become a Virginia state park. I will admit, Civil War history was not a personal passion of mine at the time, but outdoor recreation was, so it was very easy to join their dream. And I set out to learn more about Culpeper's history. It wasn't hard, as our community is full of passionate preservationists willing to give of their time, knowledge, and love of this land. I have always held the belief that land does not forget, that there is a connection between human beings and places, and that certain places like this one are doorways through which one can step across time. My journey to learn more led me to Bud Hall, to whom I cannot thank enough. Bud's commitment to Culpeper battlefields is infectious. He not only taught me the history that took place here, but how we share a collective responsibility to secure and save these sacred fields. There are countless people who have contributed to today's dedication. The American Battlefield Trust, your effort will pay dividends for generations to come. The Brandy Station Foundation, leading local preservation efforts for Brandy and Kelly's Ford since 1989. The Cedar Mountain Battlefield Foundation, leading efforts to safeguard, restore, and maintain battlefield land since 2004. Friends of Culpeper Battlefields, and decades of volunteers, historians, environmentalists, and the families and farmers that have worked and preserved these lands. The list is truly too long to count. Thank you. And while today's dedication grants us this opportunity to say thank you, it also grants us the opportunity to look forward. Today begins a new chapter for Culpeper and the state. As we all know, Virginia state parks are economic drivers for the communities they call home. In 2023, for every $1 of general tax revenue provided to state parks, $12.72 on average was generated in fresh money that will likely not be there if it not for the operation of Virginia state parks. The Culpeper Battlefield State Park is a welcome addition to the Culpeper tourism economy, which generated over $114 million in total visitor spending in 2022. This park's proximity to adjacent national battlefield units in Fredericksburg, Spotsylvania, and Manassas will afford the heritage traveler opportunities for extended visitation, while the hallowed grounds of this new state park offers the outdoor traveler opportunities to engage in silent woods, scenic rivers, and rolling fields. Which is why, as the Culpeper Battlefield State Park develops, we anticipate thousands of annual visitors in the first years, approaching 100,000 plus annual visitors by year 5 and beyond. We are excited for the Virginia State Park system to be joining the Culpeper community. Access to the outdoors is vitally important to our quality of life and the health of our communities. It is a privilege to be here today to say thank you to the Trust and their partners, and welcome to DCR and Virginia State Parks. It is also my pleasure to introduce Dave Duncan, President and CEO of the American Battlefield Trust.
Paige, I didn't have to adjust the microphone that much, so there we go. Thank you all for being here on this spectacular day, and Paige, thank you. I understand from several people that we owe you a medal for all you have done to help to coordinate this great day, so thank you very, very much. I think everyone's going to take something away from today. I hope so. But if you take nothing else away from this celebration today, I hope you'll always remember this. Nothing about today was inevitable. And what do I mean by that? In fact, many ways, we are meeting on the site of a miracle. One born not just of faith, although in the battlefield preservation business you must have faith because you're usually facing impossible odds. This miracle was also born of 3 other crucial elements. The first is leadership, second is determination, and the third is generosity. Let me talk about leadership first. I've been in the battlefield preservation business for 24 years, and I can safely say we have never had a governor anywhere in the United States of America more supportive of our mission of saving history than Governor Glenn Youngkin. Thank you, Governor. I've only got 5 minutes, but I could go on about that. But that also applies to a lot of other people as well in terms of their commitment to saving our history. The people behind me, Secretary Voiles, Director Wells, Director Langen here down front, members on both sides of the aisle of the General Assembly. We have Delegate Freitas here today. Thank you for being here. Former State Senator Chap Peterson here today as well, too. The staff members, just incredibly dedicated people at the Department of Historic Resources, the Department of Conservation and Recreation, and as has been mentioned, the Brandy Station Foundation, Friends of Cedar Mountain, other passionate local advocates, and if I may brag just a little, the members of the American Battlefield Trust. We have all played the long game of battlefield preservation by committing fully to saving these hallowed grounds, site of the largest cavalry battle in North America here at Brandy Station, and also the beginning of the Gettysburg campaign, and Cedar Mountain, the site of the bloodiest day in Culpeper County history. Okay, that's leadership. After leadership comes determination. And again, as has been said, the effort to save this battlefield started more than 30 years ago. Over that time, there have been, shall we say, competing visions of what should happen to this hallowed ground. Housing subdivisions, office parks, industrial development, and to me, perhaps most amazing of all, a massive motor sports complex, complete with a Formula One racetrack carved into the landscape at nearby Buford's Knoll. A racetrack that would have obliterated the ground where 1/4 of all of the people who were killed during this battle fell on July 9th, 1863. There are 2 people here today who led those lonely early battles in the 1990s. Without the determination of Tersh Boasberg, I saw Tersh back here, he's waving his hand, the Yale cap. And of course, our friend Bud Hall. Folks, without those 2 men, we would not be here today. Please understand that. This ground, this very ground where 161 years ago tomorrow was one of the worst places in the world to be, if you can imagine the thunder of hundreds of horses seesawing back and forth across this hill, close combat fighting with sabers and pistol shots, emptying saddles on nearly every yard of ground that you can see from our vantage point here. But for the efforts of those 2 gentlemen, this ground would have been lost forever, and its lessons lost to all future generations. They fought for this battlefield, quite candidly, when everyone else had given it up for lost. So Bud, Tersh, thank you for standing your ground. Way back then, more than a generation ago. Thank you for keeping the faith, and thank you for buying us the time we needed to get all the rest of this done. So thank you again. The third element I mentioned is generosity. And that, again, has made this day possible. Because we at the Trust only deal with willing sellers, and we pay fair market prices for people's land, we must work in an incredibly competitive marketplace to raise the private funds to multiply the value of the investment made by federal and state governments in saving hallowed ground. Again, I need to recognize a couple of people here without whose generosity, once again, folks, we would not be here. Dan and Peggy Beatty, I see here as well, have generously supported preservation efforts here for decades. Dan and Peggy, thank you very much. And again, I wish I had time to tell the whole story, but Bill Hupp, the Trust's vice chairman, is here today. He made the capstone gift that allowed us and enabled us to purchase the very property on which we stand today. Bill had an ancestor who fought in the 8th Illinois all over this battlefield, so it's personal for him, but thank you, Bill. These are just 3 of the tens of thousands of people from all across America who have invested a portion of their life's success to help save land at these 2 battlefields over the past 3 decades. It is our honor to now convey these hallowed grounds to the Commonwealth for perpetual protection. Today, Today, it is fitting and proper for us to celebrate the opening of Virginia's 43rd State Park, and I want to thank the hundreds of people who have made this day possible. But Monday, we go right back to work. There is still more land to save. There is still more history to preserve, and more of our fellow citizens to educate and inspire for generations to come. Let's go make some more miracles. Thank you. And with that, I have the very distinct honor to introduce Matt Wells, the Director of the Department of Conservation and Recreation with the Commonwealth of Virginia. Matt?
I do have to adjust the microphone a little bit. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Director Baker, wherever you are. Thank you, Paige. Thank you, David, for those remarks. And thank you all for being here today to dedicate Virginia's 43rd State Parks, Culpeper Battlefields, here at our Brandy Station unit. And thank you to Secretary Voiles, to Governor Youngkin. It is an honor to have you here, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to continue to serve in this role and for your support. What a wonderful day it is to be here with so many friends to celebrate being in the forever business. And it's a good time to be in that business. Our Virginia State Parks saw record visitation last year. Over 8 million visitors from around the world came to enjoy the spectacular beauty and history that the Commonwealth has to offer. You know, I have the privilege of leading the Department of Conservation and Recreation, which is a parent agency for our state parks, for a little over 2 years now, which means that I think that I have the second best job in state government. Those of you who know me know that I usually say that I have the best job in state government, but the boss is here. I'm going to hedge that a little bit. But I get to say that not just because I get to hang out at parks all day, although certainly it is a perk of the job to be able to call this place my office, but because every day I get to work with an amazing team to protect and to conserve the things that make Virginia such a special place, and to preserve them for today and for tomorrow and for future generations. That's our mission. And today, in dedicating Culpeper Battlefield State Park, in preserving this place for future generations, we are fulfilling that mission. Now, fulfilling that mission doesn't just happen, and I often get asked what it takes to bring a park into the state system. And the truth is, it takes a lot of things. Land worth protecting, financial resources, all of the factors that David mentioned. But underlying all of those things, and perhaps most important of all, it takes partners. You've heard a bit of the story today about how this park came to be, and how it is the culmination of years of work by an incredible group of people and organizations who have partnered in this effort. Acquisitions of these battlefield lands in Culpeper County have been ongoing since the mid-90s, and the work beginning over a decade before that. And you heard Paige and David and Melissa recognize some of these partners, but I'm a big believer that you can't thank people enough, and so I want to add my thanks to theirs. So to the American Battlefield Trust, and to David Duncan and your fantastic team, to the Friends of Culpeper Battlefields and Chuck Laudner, to the Brandy Station Foundation and Howard Lambert, and to the Friends of Cedar Mountain Battlefield and Diane Logan, and so many others, for your incredible work preserving and stewarding this land, and for your advocacy and support for the creation of this new state park. Thank you. To Culpeper County and the town of Culpeper, to Paige Reed and the work of so many others here locally, for being such enthusiastic partners, and for understanding the value that our state parks have for the communities in which they're situated. To the property owners who are willing to convey or place easements on your land so that it could be protected in perpetuity for the benefit of the Commonwealth, and to our partners in the conservation community who helped make that happen. Thank you. David talked about leadership. Leadership matters. And so to our state leaders, to Governor Youngkin, to Secretary Voiles, to members of the General Assembly, Delegate Freitas, Senator Reeves, Senator Peterson, who this was a passion project for him for many years, for passing legislation in 2022 that called for the creation of this park, and for providing the funding necessary to acquire the land and to hire the park rangers who will serve as the stewards of this land. For your leadership, thank you. And finally, to our internal partners within state government, to the Department of Historic Resources, to Julie Langan, Megan Melanette, Wendy Musamichi, to the Department of General Services, Rob Saddam and Mike Nolan, to the Office of the Attorney General, Dan Ingersoll and Westmoreland, and especially to the team at DCR, to our dedicated state park rangers led by Director Baker, our Eastern Field Operations Manager, Tim Schrader, our District Manager, Kim Benson, and our park manager here, at least for now, Kevin Bowman, who will carry this land into the next chapter of its life, our Deputy Director for Operations, Frank Stovall, and finally, and certainly not least, to our Real Property Office and to Brian Fuller, who led our efforts to transfer this land to state ownership. I don't know that people will really understand the blood, sweat, and tears that went in to bringing all of these parcels of land to this park. By the time it's all said and done, Brian and his team will have navigated almost 50 real estate transactions as part of one of the most complicated land transactions that the department has ever seen. Thank you. David, I know you said the work starts again on Monday, but we'll give Brian the day off. Okay, all right. Thanks to the efforts of all of these individuals and groups, thanks to these partners and so many more, we're able to dedicate this park today. We're able to fulfill our mission. And partnerships are how we got to today, and they're how we will shape the future of this park as well. This park will continue to grow and evolve, and yes, that will come in the form of adding more land. But a park is more than just land. It is stewardship. It is interpreting the stories of that land. It is how our guests experience the park. And what that looks like for Culpeper Battlefields will be determined in large part by its master plan. All of our parks have a master plan that outlines future infrastructure, special features, visitor experiences, educational opportunities, and the resources that we want to protect and conserve. These master plans are developed in partnership with our communities. The process includes public review and comment, stakeholder guidance, and the work by our talented team at DCR. And together, they chart the best possible roadmap for a park. And so as we move forward, we will seek to engage stakeholders, including so many of you that are here today, in the planning process. These partnerships will continue. Because while DCR will serve as the steward of this place, it belongs to the community, to the Commonwealth, and to its people. To you, our partners. This is your park. Thank you for being here today to celebrate it with us. It is now my pleasure to turn the podium over to the Secretary of Natural and Historic Resources, the Honorable Travis Voiles.
So thank you, Director Wells, and good morning. What an amazing day and an exciting day. Thank you to this amazing group that has gathered here today, and really just a reflection of the efforts that have gone into stewarding this land and the entrusting that you are providing to the state so that together we can continue its protection, share its rich history, and really experience the beauty with all Virginia State Parks visitors as we move forward. In my role as Secretary of Natural and Historic Resources, I'm fortunate and actually able to say it's part of my job sometimes to travel across Virginia and see firsthand the abundance and diversity of natural and historic resources that we are so lucky to have here in the Commonwealth. Over the last 2.5 years, I've seen the efforts and excitement grow about the conservation work being done, from the development and interpretation and educational programming, to the enhancement of outdoor experiences, to the increased accessibility of our parks. On a beautiful day like today, there are thousands of families, friends, and groups enjoying Virginia State Parks and all they have to offer, from the Atlantic Ocean to the Cumberland Gap. With Culpeper Battlefield State Park conveniently situated just a short drive from DC, from Richmond, from Charlottesville, you take your pick, this park will serve as an ideal location to complement the 42 other amazing Virginia state parks. This park will bring additional access to outdoor recreation to the area, including miles of hiking trails and equestrian activities, heritage tourism, and in the future, access to the Rappahannock River. And this is just the location within minutes away from downtown Culpeper. The park will increase with visitation to the area and create jobs and economic activity with this Virginia Main Street community, benefiting the region and benefiting the entire Commonwealth. But more than that, by linking the Brandy Station and Cedar Mountain battlefields to our state park system, we will be able to tell both the stories of these pivotal engagements, as well as the stories of a community that found itself on the front lines of war repeatedly. Part of the reason we can tell this story is because of that hard work that you've heard. The hard work that's been done to preserve so much of this battlefield as it would have looked like during the Civil War. This assemblage of easements is one of the highest concentrations of protected battlelands in the Commonwealth. This state park would not be possible without the hours, days, weeks of effort that Director Wells talked about. Hopefully, maybe not a few years off their lives as well. But this effort that was put forward by the Department of Conservation and Recreation and the Department of Historic Resources, along with our DGS and Attorney General partners, who prioritized this initiative and got us here today, while continuing to execute and support their agencies in all their other duties. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know what it took to get here today. And while you're just 2 of our 5 amazing agencies in our secretariat, this is truly a reflection of where hard work gets you. So thank y'all. I hope each of you, not only the folks in our agency teams, but everyone here today, truly enjoy this moment. And when you return here over the years, really reflect on what took to get us here and what that means for the future. While, of course, everyone loves our Virginia state parks, and who wouldn't, I want to ensure that we are all appreciative of the tools that the Commonwealth has to ensure the protection of our historic resources and provide those tangible reminders of the state's rich history and traditions, like the battlefields here. Through the protection of our Historic Preservation Easement Program, historically significant buildings, structures, and sites are protected, ensuring that they will continue to enrich and enlighten future generations of Virginians. From its start in 1966 to today, DHR's Historic Preservation Easement Program is one of the largest in the country and is viewed as a model nationwide. The program is designed to protect historic properties that are listed in the register, the Virginia Landmarks Register, and Virginia battlefields associated with the Civil War, Revolutionary War, or War of 1812, and other properties that are of historic significance. We are seeing the impact of that program and the impact of this preservation here today. The stewardship between historic resources and conservation and recreation is only just the beginning, as most of the properties in this first phase of the park remain protected by perpetual easements that will be administered jointly by DCR and DHR staff moving forward. A similar framework is anticipated for each future phase of the park and really is going to work as a model as we move forward in cooperation between our 2 agencies and with important stakeholders like y'all here today. The commitment of this administration could not be stronger for efforts like what we are celebrating here. Efforts that promote both the conservation of our natural resources and our history. And I know, reflecting on today, future generations of Virginians and Americans will be better off for what this amazing state park will be. So thank you, and now it is my genuine honor to introduce a gentleman who has devoted his life to furthering historic preservation and education efforts, not only in the Commonwealth, but across America. Over the years, between his service as chairman of the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation and his leadership as chairman emeritus of the American Battlefield Trust, and plenty more, Mr. John Now is one of the reasons why special places like the one we are celebrating today have been protected. So I'd ask everyone to help me welcome Mr. John Now.
Great day. Thank you for that welcome. Before I start on the incredible opportunity to introduce the governor, I want to take a minute to recognize the board members of the American Battlefield Trust, for without their positive vote and support, this wouldn't be happening. So we have a number of our board members. If they'd stand, I think you all deserve recognition. Thank you, Secretary Bowles, for that kind introduction. It's great for me to join all of you today on this memorable and historic occasion. I have the distinct honor and pleasure of introducing our special guest, the 74th Governor of Virginia. He was born in Richmond, raised in Virginia Beach, he has felt a special connection to the incredible history of Virginia from his earliest years. His love of the Old Dominion special places sustained him as he traveled to Texas to attend Rice University in Houston on a basketball scholarship. What I find most impressive is he earned a BS in mechanical engineering and a BA in managerial studies. That's when he wasn't on the basketball court. He has also spent time in many historic places. Boston, where he earned his MBA at Harvard, and Washington, where he spent 25 years with the Carlyle Group. But Virginia was always on his mind and in his future. So it's not surprising that the Commonwealth's chief executive, Governor Youngkin, has championed the cause of historic preservation. We stand here today dedicating a state park that will commemorate and honor significant and historic events of the Civil War. It is a testament to his personal passion for history and preservation in the Commonwealth. Last fall, during our Trust annual Grand Review event, many of us were fortunate to gain a greater understanding of his deep love and understanding of Virginia's history. He shared his favorite part of living in the governor's historic mansion, his feeling of connection that structure gave him for predecessors Patrick Henry, Thomas Jefferson, James Monroe. He also shared stories of valor, true valor on Virginia battlefields that resonates with him. Stories of generals and stories of men like Corporal Miles James, a Virginian born into slavery who, despite having his arm shattered by a bullet at the Battle of Newmarket Heights outside Richmond, he still led his men forward. And he told us that, a quote, "To keep these memories alive, these battlefields must be preserved so that we can remember not just the geography, but we can remember the deeds and the heroism that was demonstrated on them." And today, we stand on one of those grounds. But within weeks of taking office, Governor Youngkin, I approached him about the idea of a battlefield state park. I didn't have to wait for the words coming out of my mouth for him to say yes. He has championed funding for historic preservation. With his leadership, the Commonwealth has become a leader among all states in preparing for a meaningful commemoration of our nation's 250th birthday in 2026. It is indeed our pleasure, my honor, and I would say his tie to the importance of historic preservation is indicated by his presence today. Ladies and gentlemen, the Governor of the Commonwealth, Governor Youngkin.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you, John. John, thank you for that incredibly kind and generous introduction. What an honor it is to be with you. I'm struck today in reflection as we stood together boldly reciting our Pledge of Allegiance. And I have to say, this is just 1 week of the tremendous privilege that I have had and will continue to have to serve all of you as your governor. But it's been an immensely emotional, impactful week for me And so I want to start by saying thank you. Thank you for hiring me. Thank you for giving me the privilege to serve in this capacity. And what an overwhelming privilege it is. Just 1 week ago, I found myself standing with 17 families of fallen firefighters and EMS heroes, celebrating their lives and remembering their sacrifice. And of course, this week, we as a nation and a world revered and honored the men who gave so much on June the 6th, 1944, to combat evil. What a day that was to remember. And what a moment for all of us, again, not just as a nation and not just as a state, but as a community in Bedford, to fully understand the sacrifice that makes not just America the greatest nation that has ever been, but Americans, the heart and soul of that greatness. And then to be here today is such a privilege, to do something immensely important together, to dedicate, yes, another state park, and I will elaborate that on a minute, but to celebrate what teamwork means, to celebrate the actions of many that come together to do extraordinary things. And so, thank you. Thank you. John, I also want to add one very serious note, and I say this to my wife all the time. All great Texans eventually come home to Virginia. And it is wonderful to have you here, sir. We all benefit immensely from your generosity, from your leadership, from your passion, and most importantly, from your willingness to get things done. There are so many people in this world that have good ideas, but there is a huge gap between those that have ideas and those that get things done. And John, you get things done. As you've heard, this is the dedication of a state park, but it is so much more. But yes, it is the dedication of Virginia's 43rd state park. It's been my great honor to participate in all three of the state parks that we have dedicated in the last 2 years. Seven Bend State Park in Shenandoah County, Sweet Run State Park in Loudoun County. And what a moment for us to step back and recognize the complexity, the challenges, oftentimes the opposition that presents itself in doing exactly that. It is about teamwork. It's about teamwork to preserve battlefields, the tireless dedication and incredible vision of so many. It's about teamwork that oftentimes requires the handing of a baton from one team leader to the next. And I feel oftentimes at risk when we acknowledge a single person. But I am going to climb on that hill and once again thank Bud Hall for your amazing leadership. Thank you. That is not meant to leave anyone else out. And as my wife reminds me, anytime we acknowledge one, we take great risk of offending everyone else. But Bud's commitment and passion, truly, were in moments when failure seemed inevitable and success seemed impossible. But we also recognize the great contributions of the preservation community, of landowners, of residents, of elected leaders in all positions, of county leaders, of town council, of so many. Melissa and Matt, thank you for your amazing partnership and also for recognizing the breadth of contributions from so many. To my partners in the General Assembly, both current and former. And Senator, I want to thank you for being here, and boy, do I miss you. You all have played such an incredibly important role, making the future possible because we preserve our history. You see, Virginia state parks are the best state park system in America. Not only do they represent the full best of everything in Virginia, the diversity of this most amazing Commonwealth, but they also offer experiences that you can't get anyplace else. Parks like False Cape, Kipta Hungry Mother, other parks like Lake Grayson Highlands, the New River Trail, Pocahontas State Park, which I have been in so many times. Parks that remind us of the amazing blessing that we all have from a Lord Almighty in the most amazing state in America. And it is our collective responsibility to conserve and preserve that blessing. That is what Virginia state parks are all about. And when this park is fully developed, 2,200 acres will be here at Culpeper Battlefield State Park, and will fulfill all of the aspirations that we have, not just for battlefield preservation, but for our state parks. Today at this new park, because of the efforts of so many, we in fact see history come to life. So many, as we've heard, like the American Battlefield Trust, like the Brandy Station Foundation, like the Friends of Cedar Mountain, that have had a vision and a commitment to see days like this be experienced so more frequently than rarely. If I stop for a minute and again take the risk of just highlighting the work of the American Battlefield Trust, many of you may not fully appreciate the decades of work that have translated into preserving 58,000 acres across 25 states. 58,000 acres. And I am so proud of the fact that Virginia, and of course our nation's history, has benefited mightily from this work. 29,000 of those acres, half, are battlefields from the Revolutionary War, from the War of 1812, and from the Civil War that are here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, preserving our history for all to so much better understand. Culpeper County was fiercely contested. Fiercely contested because of its geography, but also because of the center that it played in commerce and trade. 4 significant battles were waged here during the Civil War. Battle of Cedar Mountain, the Battle of Kelly's Ford, Brandy Station, and Rappahannock Station. The Battle of Brandy Station was considered to be the largest cavalry battle ever fought on this continent. It not only marked the beginning of the momentous Gettysburg campaign, it involved more than 20,000 cavalrymen. The epicenter of the fighting was Fleetwood Hill. And now Virginians and Americans and guests from all over the world can come here and reflect on our nation's struggle, on the immense sacrifice that oftentimes is overlooked. They'll not only be able to see and feel and hear the history of Brandy Station and Fleetwood Hill, but places like St. James's Church and Buford's Knoll, And of course, east at Rappahannock Station and Kelly's Ford, south at Hansborough Ridge, to our west at Cedar Mountain. These preserved battlefields and lands not only connect us to our past, but they inspire us as we walk forward into our future. And of course, this place must be grounded in preservation and education. Teaching our history and the history in the Commonwealth of Virginia is not just complicated, it is filled with extraordinary highs and very dark lows. We must teach all of it, the good and the bad, for it is foundational for our future. We must know where we have come from so that we indeed can endlessly pursue forming a more perfect union. Friends, the minute that we forget that call, we're lost. President Lincoln's words ring loudly. Let's strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds. What a moment we have to do that exactly. But in addition to preservation, in addition to education, this amazing state park will be fun. It will be fun as the park will be filled with opportunities to build memories, equestrian opportunities, camping, hiking, biking. What an amazing place this already is, and we can only dream of what it will be. I'm not surprised to hear of the enthusiasm from Culpeper County and the town of Culpeper because of this amazing battlefield and park being at the heart of tourism. People will come here from all over the world, and they will not only experience the park, but they will stop at the award-winning wineries and breweries, all of which are served at the Executive Mansion in Richmond. They'll eat in restaurants. They'll take in these amazing vistas that make me so proud to be a Virginian. This will continue to be an extraordinary destination. Next weekend, Virginia State Parks will celebrate our 88th anniversary. In the history of Virginia State Parks is something again to be revered. I'm always reminded that Virginians do not follow, we lead. And boy, did we lead in the establishment of what state parks should stand for. In 1936, we did something unheard of. We, in fact, opened an entire park system at one time and established a legacy that, of course, our current administration is so honored to continue to build. We have aspirations, but we also have a calling to honor God's glory, to celebrate His creation, and to recreate and to conserve. We all stand on the shoulders of giants, giants who've gone before us and established this legacy, and yes, this expectation that we will continue the work. And so as we stand here on this most amazing Virginia day, and yes, I hope everyone here will call 10 friends and tell them to move here. I'm struck by our collective ability to truly move mountains. I'm so proud. I'm so proud of the Virginia that I see. I am proud of the Virginians that I see. I'm proud of the statement that is made as we come together and say that there are lands that are so important that we must preserve and conserve them. I'm humbled by the work that has gone on to make today happen. I'm excited about the future, the education, the experiences, and the memories that will be formed right here at Culpeper Battlefield State Park. And so, yes, let's celebrate. Let's revere God's glory. Let's dream about tomorrow. And yes, let's remember that the work again starts on Monday. May God bless you all. May He bless the Commonwealth of Virginia. May He bless these amazing United States of America. And may He always remind us that it's His glory that we must honor. Thank you very much.
So, Governor, we do have a few things for you to commemorate the day.
Thank you.
I will let our friends at ABT start.
All right, again, folks, I was serious in my remarks. Governor Youngkin and his leadership is unparalleled in the United States of America. Again, I don't have enough time to stay here for the rest of the afternoon to say everything that he's done for our cause. A small token of our appreciation today, we're presenting the governor with a historic map of Brandy Station. And if I may read the inscription, it says, "To Governor Glenn Youngkin, for your outstanding leadership and support of battlefield preservation in Virginia, presented by the American Battlefield Trust on occasion of dedication of the Culpeper Battlefield State Park, June 2024. Map is based on an after-action map of the Battle of Brandy Station, fought June 9th, 1863. From the original in the collection of the Library of Virginia." So again, Governor, thank you very, very much.
We're going to step right out here away from that. Get a picture.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Just extraordinary. Thank you. I'll take that. You going to give it back to me?
I've got it.
Thank you.
All right. And on behalf of the Culpeper community, a lot of Culpeper to take home with you.
Wow.
So including some of your award-winning wines.
Thank
so thank you for the Governor's Cup.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I'd shake your hand, but my
I
hands
know.
are full.
I know.
Here, you hold one
There
side.
we go.
There you go.
All right, I'm going to get this out of your way.
You sure?
I promise.
Okay.
Good.
Gotta make sure I get it back.
And finally, Governor, on behalf of the Department of Conservation and Recreation and Virginia State Parks, we have a couple of gifts for you as well. One you are familiar with. We have added the Culpeper State Parks medallion to your hiking stick.
Thank you. For those of you who can see this, thank you.
You're very welcome. And secondarily, in Virginia State Parks, we take a lot of pride in, as you said, being in the forever business. It means a lot to us to be stewards of the legacy of those first 6 parks and every state park that has come behind it, knowing that we protect some of the best of what is Virginia, knowing that we provide people opportunities to engage with some of what is the best in Virginia and to create those memories that create family and community. And we know that when we do work in a Virginia State Park, that work lives generations behind us. A symbol of that, and what many of us that go into this field really, really want as we go through our career, is the flat hat. The Ranger hat is a symbol of all we hold dear in the Virginia State Park system. And at your dedication of the 3rd state park in your administration, we would like to make you an honorary Virginia State Park Ranger and present you with your flat hat.
Do you think it's going to fit? We have no idea.
You have no idea. It's a little bit bigger than mine.
This is very risky. Because when you're 6'6", 230, it's not gonna fit my big head. So when we get away from the cameras, I'm gonna try to, we're gonna see how this goes, and then I'll come back for a picture, okay? Bless you.
Well, thank you, Governor, for everything you do for Virginia State Parks.
Is there a good place I can go try? Thank you all. Bless you.
Okay, that concludes the formal ceremony. We are going to do a ribbon cutting at the sign behind us. So if you know that you are getting a pair of golden scissors, please meet behind the sign. Everyone else meet in front of the sign. We are also going to have a ceremonial firing of the cannon. It is very important that all of you stay on this side of the sign as we fire the cannon. So please keep that in mind. Thank you.
I think we're going to all take direction from here.
Watch your stuff. Okay, has everybody got scissors?
You all have scissors.
I love this because there's so many people involved in this that everybody gets to participate. So, here we are. Melissa and I are going to share these scissors. Okay. Melissa, I got the bottom, you got the top.
Okay.
Okay? Now, the first thing we're going to do...
This is very risky. This is the governor.
I got you. The first thing we're going to do is we're all just going to look out here and take a picture. Okay, now the second thing is hard. I'm going to count to 3. And on 3, you've got to cut and look up for the picture at the same time. Okay? Everybody ready? Ready. 1, 2, 3. It's like shooting a bird. Downward. It's a downward angle. Okay, I'm good.
Fire. Fire.